Good morning to all of you. Today's topic is skeletal maturity indicators. It is one of the important diagnostic tool in orthodontics. As per name, that is skeletal maturity indicator. It indicates with the help of radiographs of some skeletal regions how much growth is remaining or completed in a patient. An understanding of growth events is of primary importance in the practice of clinical orthodontics. We know all individuals grow and mature, but not at the same time. It means the growth maturation occurs at different times in different individuals. Due to individual variations in timing, duration, and velocity of growth, skeletal age assessment is essential in formulating viable orthodontic treatment plan. The stage of skeletal maturation of an individual is essential for formulation of diagnosis and treatment planning. Biologic age, skeletal age, bone age, and skeletal maturation are synonymous terms used to describe the stages of maturation of a person. Chronological age is defined as the time period from the birth to till date, but it is not sufficient for assessing the developmental stage and maturity of the patient. The biological age is determined from the skeletal, dental, and morphologic age and onset of puberty. Morphologic age is based on patient's height. A child's height can be compared with those of his same age group and other age groups to determine where he stands in relation to others. Dental age has been based on two different methods of assessment. First, tooth eruption age. Second, tooth mineralization stage. Sexual age refers to development of secondary sexual characteristics. This type of indicator is useful only for adolescent growth. Skeletal age assessment is often made with the help of hand-wrist radiograph, which can be considered the biological clock. Now the term is adolescence. According to Prophet, it is the transitional period between juvenile stage and adulthood during which the secondary sexual characteristics appear. The adolescent growth spurt takes place, fertility is attained, and profound physiologic changes occur. It is an important period for treatment planning and outcome of the treatment. Coming to growth spurts, a sudden acceleration in growth is known as growth spurt. These are seen at different ages, like infantile growth spurt seen at 3 years of age, juvenile growth spurt seen in 7 to 8 years in case of females, 8 to 10 years in case of males. Pubertal growth spurt seen at 10 to 13 years in case of females, 13 to 15 years in case of males. Growth modification or modulation. According to Woodside, the pubertal growth spurt is the most important for the orthodontist as this spurt shows the maximum growth changes. According to Prophet, juvenile growth spurt in girls may be as large or even greater than the pubertal growth spurt. As this growth spurt shows maximum growth potential, all growth modification procedures are done during this period. Growth modification or modulation is best done in mixed dentition in case of girls and in early permanent dentition in case of boys. These stages are best for growth modification procedures. Now methods to check skeletal maturation are hand and wrist radiographs, cervical vertebrae, mid-palatal suture, corpus index, tooth mineralization. Now, starting with hand and wrist radiographs, indications are in patients who exhibit a major discrepancy between chronological age and dental age, that is to verify the actual skeletal age. Determination of skeletal maturity status prior to treatment of developing class 2 or class 3 malocclusion. To predict the timing and variation of pubertal growth spurt, so that if growth is remaining, then the patient could be treated by growth modification procedures, and if growth is completed, then the patient could be planned for camouflage or orthodontic surgical treatment. It helps the clinician to know whether active growth process is terminated so as to treat the skeletal conditions by surgical procedures. Before proceeding further, let's understand the anatomy of hand and wrist. The hand and wrist region is made up of the following four groups of bones: distal ends of long bones of forearm, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges. The first group of bones is found by distal ends of radius and ulna. The radius is towards the thumb, while the ulna is towards the little finger. About carpals, these bones are called as wrist bones. It forms wrist of the hand. They are 8 in number and irregular in outline without any specific shape. They are arranged in two rows, proximal row and distal row. Yellow one is the proximal row, pink one is the distal row. In proximal row, bones are pisiform, triquetrum, lunate, scaphoid. In distal row, bones are trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. Out of these 8 bones, maturation of pisiform and hamate are utilized in different methods. So these two bones are important for checking skeletal maturation. Then coming to metacarpals, they are bones of the palm. So palm of the hand is formed by metacarpals. They are numbered 1 to 5 starting from thumb and finally finishing up with little finger. So 5 metacarpals are there. Coming to phalanges, phalanges form the fingers of the hand. All the fingers have three parts, namely proximal, middle, and distal. But thumb has only two phalanges, namely proximal and distal. The middle phalanx is absent in case of thumb. Now summarizing the anatomy of hand and wrist, radius and ulna are the terminal ends which are long bones of forearm. Coming to carpals, wrist is formed by 8 carpals which are present in two rows, namely proximal row and distal row. Palm of hand is formed by 5 metacarpals starting from thumb as first metacarpal and finishing with little finger as fifth metacarpal. Fingers are formed by phalanges. Each finger has three parts, proximal, middle and distal. But thumb has only two parts, proximal and distal. The middle phalanx is absent in case of thumb. In the coming slides, short forms will be used like PP2, MP3. Like if it is written PP2, it means proximal phalanx of second finger. If it is written MP3, it means middle phalanx of third finger. Two more terms are epiphysis and diaphysis. Epiphysis is the end part of a long bone initially growing separately from the shaft, and diaphysis is the central part of the long bone. Now stages in ossification of phalanges. There are three stages. The first stage is when epiphysis is equal to the diaphysis in width. Second stage is also known as capping stage, when epiphysis caps the diaphysis. Third stage is U stage, also known as fusion stage, where there is fusion of epiphysis with the diaphysis. Here ossification is complete in the third stage. The last indicator is the sesamoid bone on the hand and wrist radiograph. Appearance of sesamoid bone in hand wrist radiographs gives us an indication of onset of pubertal growth spurt. If sesamoid bone is ossified, it indicates no growth is remaining in that patient. Hand wrist radiograph is considered to be the most standardized method of skeletal assessment. Methods of skeletal maturity estimation are Grulich and Pyle method, Bjork, Grave and Brown method, Singer's method of assessment, Fishman's skeletal maturity indicators, Haig and Prenger method. First is Grulich and Pyle method. After a GRU study, they published an atlas containing the pictures of standard hand wrist radiographs of different skeletal ages. They have given ideal pictures of hand and wrist radiographs for different chronological ages and for each sex. Next is Bjork, Grave and Brown analysis. This was given by Bjork in 1972 and later modified by Grave and Brown in 1976. They have divided the entire maturational process of the bones of hand between ages 9 and 17 into 9 stages, and each of these stages represents a level of skeletal maturity. A total of 14 ossification points were utilized. So first stage is PP2 stage, means proximal phalanx of second finger, in which epiphysis equals the width of diaphysis. This stage occurs approximately 3 years before the peak of the pubertal growth spurt. Second stage is MP3 stage, in which middle phalanx of third finger epiphysis width is equal to that of diaphysis. Third stage is PZ, H1 and R stage. PZ means visible ossification of pisiform bone. You can notice the radio opacity in this region. Second is H1 stage, that is ossification of the hamate bone starts in this stage. You can notice a radio opaque ring over here. And R stage, that is radius, in which epiphysis equals to the width of diaphysis. Fourth stage is S and H2. S stands for sesamoid. Appearance of sesamoid bone close to the thumb. H2 stage, progressive ossification of the hamate bone is seen in this stage. Fourth stage is reached shortly before or at the beginning of the pubertal growth spurt. Fifth stage, in this second stage of ossification starts, that's the capping stage. It is seen in middle phalanx of third finger, proximal phalanx of first finger, and in radius where epiphysis starts capping the diaphysis. This stage of ossification marks the peak of the pubertal growth spurt. In sixth stage, it is DP3U stage. It means the third stage of ossification is reached in distal phalanx of third finger, where epiphysis fuses with the diaphysis. It means the ossification is complete in this stage. This stage of development constitutes the end of the pubertal growth. Seventh stage is PP3U stage. It means proximal phalanx of third finger, in which epiphysis fuses with the diaphysis. Hence, ossification is complete. Eighth stage is MP3U stage, that is middle phalanx of third finger, where epiphysis fuses with the diaphysis and ossification is complete. Last stage is RU stage, that is in radius the epiphysis fuses with the diaphysis and ossification and skeletal growth is completed. Next method is Fishman's skeletal maturity indicators. A system for evaluation of skeletal maturation was proposed by Leonard S. Fishman in 1982. Fishman made use of four anatomical sites: located on thumb, that is sesamoid bone, third finger, fifth finger, and radius. So these were the four anatomical sites that he used for skeletal maturity indicators. The four stages were: first is epiphysis equal to diaphysis, second appearance of adductor sesamoid of thumb, third is capping of epiphysis, and fourth fusion of epiphysis. The first stage is width of epiphysis equal to that of diaphysis. Second stage is ossification of sesamoid bone. Third stage, capping of epiphysis with the diaphysis. Fourth stage, where epiphysis fuses with the diaphysis and marks ossification completed. So in the first stage, where epiphysis equal to diaphysis, seen in proximal phalanx of third finger, middle phalanx of third finger, and middle phalanx of fifth finger. If these three are seen on the radiograph, it indicates the onset of prepubertal growth velocity. And appearance of sesamoid on the thumb, if it is visible, it indicates a period of very rapid growth velocity. If capping of the epiphysis over diaphysis seen in distal phalanx of third finger, middle phalanx of third finger, and middle phalanx of fifth finger on the radiograph, it indicates peak height velocity. If fusion of epiphysis over diaphysis seen in distal phalanx of third finger, proximal phalanx of third finger, and middle phalanx of third finger and radius, it indicates decelerating growth and growth completion. The next method is cervical vertebrae maturity indicators, also known as CVMI. In 1972, Lamparksy was the first person to study cervical vertebrae, and he found them to be as reliable as hand wrist valve. He found that cervical vertebrae indicators were same for both males and females, but the females developed changes earlier as compared to males. Hassel and Farman developed a system of skeletal maturation determination using the cervical vertebrae. The shapes of the cervical vertebrae change according to each level of skeletal development. The shape of the cervical vertebrae indicates the amount of skeletal maturity of a person and thereby gives an idea of how much residual growth potential is left over. So they suggested six stages. First stage is initiation, second acceleration, third transition, fourth deceleration, fifth maturation, and sixth completion. In first stage, that is initiation, inferior borders of second, third, and fourth cervical vertebrae, they are flat at this stage. The third and fourth vertebrae, they are wedge shaped, and superior vertebrae borders tapered from posterior to anterior. In this stage, 100% of pubertal growth is remaining. Second stage is acceleration. In this stage, concavities on inferior borders of second and third vertebrae are seen. But in the fourth vertebral column, it's comparatively flat. Vertebral bodies of third and fourth, they are nearly rectangular in shape in this stage. In this stage, 65 to 85% of pubertal growth is remaining. Third is transition. In this stage, on the inferior borders of second and third vertebrae, marked concavities are seen, and the fourth vertebrae concavity just starts appearing. In this stage, 25 to 65% of pubertal growth remains. Fourth stage is deceleration. Distinct concavities can be seen on the inferior borders of second, third, and fourth vertebrae. Here the third and fourth vertebrae, they are more squarer in shape. In this stage, 10 to 25% of pubertal growth remains. Fifth stage is maturation. Marked concavities seen on the inferior borders of second, third, and fourth cervical vertebrae. Vertebral bodies of third and fourth are almost square in shape. Only 5 to 10% of pubertal growth remains in this stage. Last stage is completion. Deep concavities observed on second, third, and fourth cervical vertebrae. Vertebral bodies are greater vertically as compared to horizontally. In this stage, pubertal growth has been completed. Now, if we see third vertebrae, the first stage, that is initiation, the lower border is flat and it is wedge shaped. Second stage, that is acceleration, concavity on lower border appears and it is rectangular in shape. In third stage, that is transition, concavity increases on the lower border and becomes more rectangular in shape. In the fourth stage, that is deceleration, it has become squarer in shape. In fifth stage, that is maturation, marked concavity on the lower border and is square in shape. In the last stage, that is completion, concavity on the lower border with more vertical increase as compared to horizontal. Now, correlation of hand, wrist, and cervical vertebrae maturation stages. Stages of hand wrist radiograph, that is 1 and 2, compared with initiation stage of CVMI, it shows 85% to 100% growth remaining. Comparing third and fourth stage of SMI with CVMI, that is acceleration stage, in which 65% to 85% growth is remaining. Comparing fifth and sixth stage of SMI with transition stage of CVMI, 25% to 65% growth is remaining. Comparing 7th and 8th stage of SMI with deceleration of CVMI, 10 to 25% growth is remaining. Comparing 9th and 10th stage of SMI with maturation stage of CVMI, 5 to 10% growth is remaining. And comparing stage 11 with completion of CVMI, only 0% growth is remaining, that is, growth is over. Now, conclusion is chronological age of an individual is often not sufficient to assess the development age and somatic maturity of the patient. Skeletal age derived from hand wrist radiograph and cervical vertebrae radiograph provide a reliable and efficient means of assessment, and it is considered as a best tool for assessing the growth potential of an individual. That's all about skeletal maturity indicators. Thank you.